Good morning. It's Monday, the 6th of April. Let's start with our top story. Just gone 8 o'clock and the Prime Minister has spent the night in hospital after being admitted for tests. This is 10 days after he was diagnosed with coronavirus.
Number 10 says that Mr Johnson remains in charge of the government, but the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab will chair a coronavirus meeting this morning. Our political correspondent Chris Mason has more.
That was the Queen on a rare address, which we watched last night live on TV. Elsewhere this morning, Scotland's Chief Medical Officer has resigned after being caught visiting her second home in breach of her own social distancing guidance.
Dr Catherine Calderwood made a public apology and received a police warning after she travelled from Edinburgh to her other home in Fife for 2 consecutive weekends. Alexandra Mackenzie reports. 8:10, just to let you know, at 8:30 this morning, we will be speaking to the Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon about all the implications of that.
Another story to bring you this morning. The National Domestic Abuse Helpline has seen a 25% increase in calls and online requests for help over the past week. This is according to Refuge, they're the country's largest domestic abuse charity.
It says there was also a 150% rise in those using the helpline's website. These are the first statistics which give a picture of the potential consequences of social distancing for abuse victims. Our news correspondent Thomas Morgan reports.
That was Thomas Morgan with that special report about domestic abuse. It's 30 minutes past 8. Now, you'll have heard the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, warning us over the weekend that he will ban all outdoor exercise if certain people continue to ignore the rules about social distancing. This comes after crowds of people were spotted at various parks across the country over the weekend.
Frontline workers are now facing increased pressure. NHS staff have been sharing their own messages, begging people to stay indoors to help save lives. I mean, the message couldn't be clearer, could it? We're joined now by 2 frontline workers. Dr. and thank you for speaking to us on what I know will be incredibly busy days for you. Amy Jones, first of all, I know you're about to start work, but just give us an indication of what kind of thing you are having to deal with.
What struck a lot of people, Amy, over the weekend is listening to those first-hand accounts of doctors you are dealing with day in, day out, when you're seeing these patients who are so ill.
You at the moment, and what kind of things are you having to deal with?
Well,
I just wondered to the pair of you how you feel the most effective way is of getting the message across, because there are some people who are just, you know, sort of flouting the regulations and the government guidelines. There are other people, and Dan, if you answer this first, and then we come to Amy. We had an email in earlier from somebody called Tracy who said her neighbours are going out. They're in their early 70s. She's seen them going out 3 days. Weren't shopping. They were just browsing. How can you get that message effectively across to people of the seriousness of the situation, Dan?
What do you make of it when you see people perhaps not abiding by, you know, what we've all been clearly asked to do?
I think they don't appreciate.
It's really clear, Amy. Also, I mean, you know, there's so many desperate things going on, not just the fact that you're having to work on that, but these patients are alone, aren't they? Apart from, obviously, lovely people like you. Just doesn't have just an impact on families, it's got to have an impact on all of you as well.
Oh, it's really
Sobering to hear your account this morning, Amy. Dan, to come back to you on that as well, Amy was talking about the number of her own co-workers that she's having to treat as well. We were speaking to somebody from the Royal College of Physicians last week who was saying sort of a quarter of staff aren't able to be in at the moment. Does that tally with what you're hearing, the people that you would love to see working alongside you but aren't able to be there?
Absolutely incredible what all of you are doing. Amy, I think you were in the army, you were in the military. Well, how does this compare to what you've had to do before?
Yeah, I'm a reserve.
I've been really struck by what you've said this morning, Amy and Dan, and just that example. If anybody is watching this morning thinking, underestimating the seriousness of the situation, I heard a really powerful account of you describing having to say goodbye to a family member on a video call rather than seeing them face to face. If that doesn't have an impact on you, then there's no hope, really, is there?
No,
That really important thought. I appreciate you're both incredibly busy, and thank you so much for talking to us here on BBC
Thank you very
Breakfast.
much.
Thank you. Good luck today as well. Thank you.
That's Dr Dan Magnus, who leads a paediatric unit in Bristol, and Dr Amy Jones, who is just about to start a 12-hour shift.
Really gives you a sense of perspective as well. It's 22 minutes past 8. Now, you might remember, actually, a few weeks ago here on Breakfast, we spoke to 2 former footballers, Gary Neville and Ryan Giggs, about their decision to allow NHS workers to use both their hotels free of charge.
The gesture has really been gratefully received by staff who are unable to live with their families because of what's going on with the pandemic, and Graham Satchell has been finding out exactly how it works. There's some great schemes out there, aren't there?
Yeah,
I mean,
and interesting because we talked to them and to see how it actually works. It's quite nice to see the follow-up, isn't it, as well?
yeah, and there's lots of people making promises, and then it's great to see how those promises are being
get
followed
delivered
up on. Yeah.
It was for some of us had lovely temperatures this weekend, Carol, didn't they? Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, that's right.
Thank you very much. Keeping us up to date. It's just after 8:30. You're watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
Let's bring you up to date with the main stories. And the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab will chair a coronavirus meeting this morning. That's because Boris Johnson spent the night in hospital. A serious mistake that risked undermining the government's public health message is how Nicola Sturgeon assessed the actions of Scotland's chief medical officer.
Dr Catherine Calderwood stood down last night after being caught visiting her second home, despite urging the public against non-essential travel. Hours before the resignation, the First Minister attempted to ward off a backlash by supporting her colleague. It is 8:41 and Sally's going to be talking to us about something to do with Formula One, aren't you? What's going on? Morning.
Morning, both. Yeah.
So many changes needed by so many people. Sal, thanks for that this morning.
Now, on Breakfast over the last couple of weeks, we've been meeting the people who are keeping Britain moving. And while many of us have had to embrace new technology to keep in touch, cards and letters from loved ones have also become especially important.
Posties all over the UK have been identified as key workers. And Tim...
8:46, uncovering the identity of Line of Duty's mysterious H. You love this, don't you?
It's my favourite thing on telly.
Might have been the biggest challenge ever faced by AC12, but that was before they attempted a video conference call.
Actors Vicky McClure and Martin Compston have been recording messages urging us to stay at home to aid the fight against coronavirus. But safe to say, it took them a while to get to grips with technology. We'll speak to Vicky in a moment.
She's laughing, I can see her laughing.
But let's remind Vicky and everyone else of how it went. Brilliant.
I love so much about that. Oh, Vicky McClure, morning to you. Shane, I mean, technology can be challenging, can't it? Good morning. It's lovely to see you.
We didn't show. I enjoyed it halfway through. You said, I think I need a sip of my tea. And it seemed to go far better after you had a cup of tea, Vicky. You got there in the end.
Yeah, no.
Because, you know, it's a really important message that you were trying, and you did get across. And the great thing is, I suppose, with the humour as well, it will send people to the message. We'll show you a little bit, and then we'll come back to you. Here we go.
Lovely, a very important message, Vicky. I'm also intrigued by Martin was saying there's no point getting the gaffer on.
Yeah, no, we definitely...
Tell us how it's going, because I think you were filming, weren't you? And filming's been put on hold.
Yeah, we...
People in that sort of same situation, aren't there? Where, you know, whatever walk of life it is, where life has just come to a halt temporarily, and the most important thing is, you know,
Shared your skills, because we've all got the opportunity now, couldn't we? We could just watch all the Line of Duties up till the next series, couldn't we?
Yeah, give that.
I go on about it to my mum and dad the whole time. My mum and dad are now caught up on iPlayer, so they're up. And also, people remember the programme that you did about the Dementia Choir documentary, which had such a huge impact. And I'm sure that's something that you are thinking about at the moment. All those, when you start to think about all the people who are being affected by what's happening now, those who have dementia, that's a real area of concern, isn't it?
Know this, but apparently you've been doing TikToks.
Oh.
Can we show some? Here we go.
Well, the best thing about that is...
Line of Duty when you get back to filming and we get to see it. It's a real pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.
Cheers.
See you again soon.
Thank you.
Another old favourite here on BBC Breakfast, Diana Moran, better known, of course, as the Green Goddess, is back with us for another routine to wake us all up and help keep us moving.
Thank you, Diana.
We're going to try, aren't we? I like the stretches. The stretches are particularly good today, I think.
She's back on Wednesday for another stretching session in
Monday,
in the green
Wednesday, Friday.
leggings.
And I'm going to take Vicky McClure's advice. I'm going to go back and watch all Line of Duty so I can try and work out what's been going on.
Oh, at last we can have a conversation about it, Louise. Every time I say it, she just palms me off, but now she's back in.
Have a really good day. Stay safe. We'll be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.